Boo! Happy Halloween! I know I have a lot of videos in development right now, but none of them were Halloween videos, and I thought this would be quick, easy, and rather painless. This is what an idiot looks like. That's right. We're ranking all the episodes of Helluva Boss Season 1. We're not doing Season 2 because Season 2 isn't finished yet, and I don't want to do the YFM thing and have to update this video literally every day.
Once again, I'm going to be giving the disclaimer, this show is for adults. I may be an editing god, but iMovie can only go so far. If there's stuff in this video that you don't want to see, make sure to take some of these on the way out.
Most of my opinions are subjective, and let's just jump into it, man.
Let's get it started!
This is not a bad episode of television. None of these are bad episodes of television. That being said, this sucks. You could remove this episode from the canon and nothing would change. Everything that we learned in this episode was learned in previous episodes. There's just literally no point to this one. And then there's Beelzebub, which, okay, let me tell you a little story. This is Clover. Clover really likes Beelzebub. Therefore, I'm going to execute Clover publicly, and none of you can stop me. Beelzebub is easily the most memorable part of this episode, which is hilarious when you realize she's literally not a part of the episode at all. If you were to take Beelzebub out of this episode, hell, if you were to take Beelzebub out of the canon, the most that would change is that the entries for Helluva Boss and Rule 34 would go down by a good 10%. Whenever Beelzebub appears on screen, I genuinely feel depressed. It might be a subconscious trauma thing, IDK, but that's really how I feel. And like the whole musical number and everything, it takes up so much of the episode. Cotton Candy isn't even that catchy a song, so that's a little bit of a lie. It's been a couple days, the song's pretty catchy. It's still bad, I don't like it. It's pretty much an earworm. Like, I hate it, but it's catchy, okay? And when Beelzebub isn't there, it's the emotional core of the episode, which is all stuff that we already knew and didn't need to have explained to us again. Long story short, I do not like this episode. I can understand why people like it and why it's good, but I personally hate it. You know, Wednesday.
This is me, Barry. Remember what you taught us? Think before you act.
This is a surprisingly anticlimactic way to start off the series. When it first released, it was the best thing we had, because it was the only thing we had, but to be honest, in hindsight, it's not really all that good. A majority of this episode is just pretty average, but I'd say the biggest problem is the fact that they get too caught up in their own plot for comedy. The writers think we're going to be too busy pissing our pants at the murder family to notice any of the comedy they put in, so they just kind of don't put in any comedy at all during the second half of the episode, and it really drags it down. For all of you diehard Murder Family fans, don't worry, this episode is still great and miles ahead of goddamn Queen Bee, but I just still don't think it's the best in the series.
Well, luckily for you,
There's something we can do.
we can help keep them alive, so you can watch them thrive.
This episode is grand moments of excellence sprinkled into a kind of meh plot structure. It kind of has the opposite problem of Murder Family, where instead of having a big plot that gets too caught up in itself to have comedy, it kind of doesn't want to do the plot in the first place and just does comedy instead. It has the opera scene and some absolutely banger jokes, but like other than that, it's all kind of meh. This is the middle child of Season 1, and it really feels like it.
Your demon host, Osmodius, the embodiment of lust.
This episode is both way better and way worse than it has any right to be. While reviewing it, I can't decide whether to look at the bad and say that this is a episode, or look at the good and say that this is literally one of the best episodes of the entire season. The best way to put it is, for every exceptional part of this episode, there's a caveat. The comedy is good? Well, this is a plot episode, so you're barely going to be getting any of that. The romance and character development is really interesting? Well, yeah, but only interesting in concept. They don't develop it all that much. I don't know where to put it, so I'm putting it here. It's not bad enough to be down in the lower episodes, but not good enough to be considered one of the better episodes. It's just kind of here, and that's where I'm leaving it. On to the next one.
Sweet victory, I smell the smell. From up and stick in heaven to the rugged rocks of hell.
It was that fateful day, on April 30th, 2021, when millions of sexualities changed at once. This event could be heard by literally no one, because it was in the middle of the 2020s, so everyone was social distancing. What a time to be alive. It's probably just me, but this episode kind of stands out of the black sheep of Season 1. Whenever I'm asked to name all of the Helluva Boss episodes, which is way more than I think it should be, this is the one I always forget. Not because it's a forgettable episode, but because all of the other ones have so much to talk about. Well, this one just kind of exists. And you know what? There ain't nothing wrong with that. Anything bad I can say about this episode immediately gets counteracted with something good. Oh, the plot's not that well put together compared to the previous episodes. Well, in this episode specifically, the plot is just an excuse to see the amazing fight choreography, which is really, really good. Yeah, well, not all of the jokes land. Okay, but the ones that land really f***ing land. But there's Striker, and Striker is popular, and popular equals bad. Well, that's just your opinion, Mr. Movie Guy that I made up in my head for the sake of this specific argument. There's not really a correct way to talk about this specific episode, and there's not really a correct way to end this sentence, so I'm not gonna do either.
This is your final boarding call. All aboard.
This character's name is Milky. Just thought I should mention that. Anyways, where was I? Now we getting into the good sh**. This episode has got so much going for it. The directing and animation is really top-notch in this episode specifically. The music is great. I mean, this is the first time we get to hear Millie's theme / the Doom theme. I mean, just listen to this. The character development is really well explored. Moxie gets drunk and turns into a possum. Christina V is in this episode. What more could you ask for?
All the imps in hell, it's for him that I fell. Oh, Millie. Are you f***ing filming us right now?
I forgot how funny and quotable the pilot was. Good God, this is amazing. This episode isn't deep, this episode isn't complex, it's just introducing us to our characters, our setting, in the most perfect way possible. If I'm being honest here, this might actually be a perfect pilot. I mean, don't expect me to explain why. Who do I look like? F***ing Shea Frillis? If you are even vaguely interested in this show, 1, what the f*** are you doing here? And 2, the pilot is genuinely the perfect place to start.
Eminem, get in here. We're going to Loo Loo Land.
Loo Loo Land?
Lulu Land!
Loo Loo Land.
Out of all of the episodes, this is the one I least want to spoil, because it's just so perfect. The premise / plot, which is a parody of Disneyland, is well executed. The jokes are still making me laugh, even on my 20th viewing. The emotional core of the episode is depressing, but like in the good way. Beetlejuice is here, destroying his vocal cords, as always. God, I feel so bad for Alex Brightman. Just watch this one, man. It's so good.
Don't talk to me. I know you're a pervert under there.
Yeah. Okay, I've had one too many emotions for today, guys. Let's be.
This is legitimately one of my favorite episodes of television of all time. That is how good this is. A lot of these episodes went through complicated development cycles, but this one was delayed the most, and you know what? I'm happy it was. I'm glad it got the time to boil and become this perfect. The character motivations are perfect. The song is perfect. The character development in the song is perfect. The back and forth banter between the two best characters in the show, and Moxie and Blitz, I guess, is absolutely amazing. I already talked about the musical number and how good the animation in that is, and then there's the fight scene. Oh my god, there's the fight scene. The animators, the composers, the writers, they all said all hands on deck and then fucking popped off. Look at this shit, man. It is well worth watching the rest of the show just to get to this scene. 10 out of 10. I don't think I need to say more.
That was my ranking of Helluva Boss Season 1. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sorry if this felt a little undercooked. I just wanted to get a video out for Halloween, and I've also got a bunch of other stuff in the works. Go watch Helluva Boss yourself, feel however you want about it, and I'll see you. Speaking of independent animation, I heard that SMG4 made this new funny clown show, so I'm gonna go watch that if you guys don't mind. What the... What the... This is gonna be a bit of a problem, isn't it? I would like to give a huge thank you to Stain Talkton for making this kick-ass Halloween remix of my original theme song. And if you liked the video, maybe think about subscribing.